And the second reason was that I had written to the president. I have seen him one-on-one to say that this Nembe Brass Road, we have cut it into 2 phases because the money required to construct this road is very huge. State government alone cannot do it. Federal government come to support us. We have already started the first phase, and under my government, we will finish that first phase. Let's wait. The same thing I told the previous government, wrote to them, they never answered me. The government before this current government today, they never answered me. They never replied my letters, except the minister at that time, Minister of Works, Fashola, who was the only man that replied my letter. All the others I wrote to, nobody answered me. Including the president I went to one-on-one, never answered me. But this time around, as I went to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and told him that this Nembe Brass Road, I want you to help us to do the second phase. Today, when we went to that meeting, they have awarded the second phase by the federal government of Nigeria. You heard it from the speaker in his elaborate speech and remarks that contract that was awarded by the federal government under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was over 120 billion. Now, in our first phase, we awarded that contract at that time for 54 billion. But with the skyrocketing of everything and things that were not done, we had a variation that was more than the amount we used in awarding the contract. We had a variation of over 64 billion. So if you add that, the Bayelsa state government is also spending about 110 billion on that road. And we are happy because that sea pirates we will not go see again. People can waka by road anytime they want to waka to Yenagua. All the things, all the fish that we produce here, they will not get rotten here again. The value of our fish will increase. And this place, Tuo Brass, will become a tourist center. So many advantages. The speaker mentioned so many. That is why we are happy that you stood by us. You stood by us. Even when the forces of darkness wanted to rig the election, you told them, no. And you stood there. You don't mind whether it was PDP, whether it was APC. You wanted the right thing to be done. Please clap for yourselves. Anoa. You know, the king, who is our father, when I visited him with my entourage today, said, you know, Governor, you are already a brass man. You are a citizen of brass. Well, I wanted to tell him something there, but for fear of being my father, I refused to, I held it back. But if I throw it open here, maybe you will go and tell him. Will you tell him? Our policy is to link up the hinterland to our states and drive to Ikirimo. The local government headquarters of Ikirimo local government. That is in the western flank, western senatorial district. In the central senatorial district, the only local government headquarters you cannot access by road is the biggest local government area in Nigeria, Southern Ijo local government area. The headquarters, Oporoma, up until today, you cannot go by road. And we decided to take that one up also. As we speak, the bridge of about 600 meters will be completed by the end of this year. The road is progressing side by side with the construction of the bridge to Oporoma. So by the early part of next year, when we are 6 years in office, we are going to commission the road and the bridge, and we drive to Oporoma. Now the only other one left is where we are today, the Eastern Senatorial District. Tuambras is the only local government headquarters that we cannot access by road. And we are very determined that Tuambras must be accessed by road. And you have all seen what we are doing. And that road, make no mistakes about it, by the design that the Bayelsa State government has done under my watch, which we have handed over to the Federal Ministry of Works. That road begins from Nembe and will terminate in Tuambras. And we are aware, because that is the policy of the state government, and we are aware that there is already a road linking Tuambras and several other communities down to Okpoma. And so this island will become a beehive of activities. We want to continue to play the politics of development, not the politics of people who take money into their individual pockets. We want to continue to play the politics that will bring up and improve the standard of living of the women of Bayelsa State, of the youths of Bayelsa State. And we said, after you have done this big job by supporting your government, it is very proper for us to come back to say, Anoa, Anoa, Anoa. He's a miracle working God. Hallelujah. He's a miracle working God. He's a miracle working God.
Aru,
The only request made by your representative, which was also the same thing that was requested for when I visited His Royal Majesty King Dedespif. He also made the same request to me in his palace. And so, after listening to our father, our king, and the Right Honorable Mary Ebikake, I directed the Commissioner for Health, who is also in this entourage, to go and then brief me about the situation in your general hospital. And he came up with this as a briefing: general renovation of the general hospital. Equipments are all obsolete. Refurbishing the water facility and repair of the broken fence. Now, by the powers conferred on me as the governor of Bayelsa State, the Honorable Commissioner for Health is hereby directed to bring up all of this. If it is beyond my threshold, then bring it up to the State Executive Council meeting in our next meeting for approval. Next 2 weeks, latest, approval must be received either by me or from the State Executive Council. But we cannot play with the health of our people. We have been renovating and renovating across the state, and Tuam Brass cannot be an exception. And so once again, we have come to felicitate with you, to acknowledge the role that you played in our return for a second tenure, and to also ask more from you, that yes, we may be going out, but you have to continue to do what you have done before, so that democracy will take roots, so that those anti-democratic forces will be shown the door out in Brass local government area. Democracy is where, from our primary knowledge, the people decide who should lead them. The people decide who should represent them, and not to force yourself on the people. The era of those of them who wanted to force themselves on the people is over, and you have proved it in Brass local government area. And we will continue to stand by you when you stand by the ballots. And we will continue to acknowledge you and do the things that you want us to do. The Speaker of the Bayelsa State House of Assembly said it. We don't just give projects. We consult them and say, go and bring up the projects that your people want. And when we went to Akasa and I saw the projects that were done by Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And even here in Tuambras, so many of the roads inside of Tuambras, from one street to the other. Even when I came on campaign, I commissioned one of the roads. So, as a government, we are doing what you want us to do. And as you are safe with us, continue to be by us. And we will also stand by you. Once again, thank you, and all of you. I'm seeing our youth corpers there. Thank you very much. I'm aware we have been renovating and renovating. Even here in Tuambras, we have renovated the primary health care center. But this one is a general hospital, so we must work on it. Lastly, I cannot be tired of thanking God. Because now some people are looking at 2027. I pray that we all live the way we have lived after the election and we're all alive. Not so. Let us be alive. So let us face the first things first. First thing is to develop our place, to develop our state. And so I'll continue to thank President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for joining hands with me to develop Bayelsa State. And so let me again appeal to Mr. President that our people are waiting eagerly, particularly in Bayelsa State, for this second phase of the Nembe Brass Road that has been flagged off by the federal government. Mr. President, you are a good man. You are a good man. And we know that you will not waste time to get the contractor whom we have already seen to come and commence work the way Setraco is working in the phase 1. Thank you. And we know that you will do it, Mr. President. So that under your leadership, you will come and commission this all-important road from Nembe to Tuambras. God bless you all.
welcome to Newspaper Review today on Biscon Television. I'm Stella Opara. I've got some papers here, but I'll begin with this day newspaper. Now, above the masthead, NUPRC, Nigeria attracted $16 billion oil sector investment commitments in 2 years. That's coming from NUPRC. Okay, so you can get the story on page 9. Tinubu to sign 4 tax reform bills into law today. That's on page 9. Damagum, Anyanwu is PDP National Secretary. Council's neck proposes caucus meeting. You can get the story on page 37. And boldly here is President Tinubu to commission Kugbo bus terminal today. The Honorable Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Barrister Ezenwoye Samwike, CON, and the Honorable Minister of State, Dr. Maria Mahmood, on behalf of all residents of the FCT, welcome His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to the commissioning of the newly constructed Kugbo Bus Terminal. It's taking place today, Thursday, 26 June 2025. Venue, Kugbo Bus Terminal. Time, 12 noon. All right, so that's it for this day newspaper. Next paper here is the Nation newspaper. And, what we have here is also before the commissioning, we have Dangote PMS, diesel, aviation fuel, free delivery bonanza. So it begins August 15, 2025. Details on page 3. Okay, so next we have the President Tinubu to commission Kugbo Bus Terminal today. Adverts on the Nation newspaper. Next we have Daily Trust. The first headline here says University of Calabar joins beneficiaries of OPA's 1.2 billion naira 10-year scholarship program. All right. Moving on, we have Tinubu to sign tax reform bills today. That's on page 12. And party registration. ADA, that's All Democratic Alliance. Obedience among 110 applicants, says INEC. That's on page 16. Running mate, I'll do whatever Tinubu wants in 2027, says Barrow. You can see the story on page 17. Next, we have soldiers, bandits in bloody clash in Niger. Many feared dead. The story is on page 3 and 4. PDP, 11 NWC members disown Damagum, reject Anyanwu's reinstatement. That's on page 5. 5 arrested over death of 2 Kanu youths. You can get that on page 40. Landmine explosion kills 4, injures 10 in Borno. That's on page 37. Next, we have PDP chieftain and son shot dead in Kwara. You can get that story on page 37. And that's it for the Daily Trust. Next, we have the Vanguard newspaper. PDP crisis deepens as NWC members counter Damagum, insists Anyanwu not reinstated. You can get that story on page 5. 2027, coalition against me full of political IDPs, says Tinubu. You can get that on page 13. Now, 20 soldiers, scores of bandits die in Niger clash. Okay, that's on page 7. And again, we have President Tinubu to commission Kugbo Bus Terminal today on the Vanguard newspaper. So get a copy for yourself to get more details. Next, we have Nigerian Tribune. PDP crisis gets messier, 5 days to 100th NEC meeting. The story is on page 3. I was never arrested by EFCC over alleged $7.2 billion fraud, says ex-NNPC CFO. The story is on page 25. We also have 17 soldiers killed, 10 others injured in battle with terrorists in Niger, says CDS. Military deploys 800 special forces to combat insecurity. You can get that on page 5. 2027, we have 110 associations for party registration, says INEC. That's on page 15. Also on Tribune is the advertorial on President Tinubu to commission Kubo bus terminal today. And that's it for the Nigerian Tribune. Up next is the Punch newspaper. Ex-generals flag intelligence failure as bandits kill 17 soldiers. That's a very sad one there. And that's on page 2 of the paper. We have strengthened ICRC as engine room for Nigeria's infrastructure revolution, says Tinubu. Details on page 18. NEC crisis. Makinde bloc revolts as INEC verdict tears PDP apart. Damagum Saraki back Wike allies return. Cancel June 30 NEC. Pro Makinde NWC and governors protest. That story is on page 2. Again is the notification on President Tinubu to commission Kubo bus terminal today. Okay, so that's it for the Punch newspaper. Next we have The Guardian. Obedient, ADA, 108 others applied to INEC for registration. That's on page 3. New tax regime underway as Tinubu signs bills into law today. That's on page 3 as well. 17 soldiers killed in Niger as troops foil attack. That's on page 3 as well. Amid weak social services, states stake nearly 200 billion naira on renovations. You can get that story on page 6. Over 91% of FX liquidity outside formal banking system. APCON claims. Okay, so gets more details on page 19. Next, federal governments to hold manufacturers, importers responsible for plastic pollution. That's on page 4. Moving on, Nigeria can't make progress without efficient civil service, says Alake. That's on page 9. Minister seeks alignment of military training with national security objectives. That's on page 8. Damagom, PDP NWC on war path over Anyanwo's reinstatement and NEC meeting. You can get that on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. And that's it for the Guardian newspaper. Next paper here is the New Telegraph. Money laundering. Nigeria to undergo last hurdle assessment to exit grey list. Okay, that's some sort of good news. You can get the story on page 3. Federal government moves to liquidate outstanding contractors' obligations. You can get that on page 8. Uproar in Red Chamber over appointment of non-indigent as RCEC chair. You can get the story on pages 3 and 6. Federal University of Kashere to confer honorary doctorate on Kalu. That's on page 2. Lubricant producers lament 10 billion naira loss as NMDPRA tightens import regulations. You can get that on page 30. An ex-Kwara governor, Adebayo, dies at 84. And President Tinubu others pay tribute. You can get that on pages 7, 27, and 29. Moving on, we have National Secretary. PDP crisis deepens as NWC counters Damagum governors and reinstates Anyanwu. Shells NEC for expanded caucus. Akpabio Wike mock party over scribes resumption. You can get that story on pages 2, 3, and 5. Moving on, we have $300 helicopter levy. NAMA to shut down defaulters' facilities and others. Pilot's faulty seat caused Air India crash, report reveals. Okay, so you go to pages 2 and 8 for more of that story. Defense headquarters to deploy 800 special forces to combat insecurity. That's on page 5. Next, we have Senate declares Yelawata Mango massacres acts of terrorism. Reps to probe Benue killings, seek army base in Yelwata. Army, how troops engaged 300 Niger bandits, killed scores, but 17 soldiers paid supreme price and 10 wounded. Okay, that story is on pages 2, 4, and 6. We are processing requests for parties registration, says INEC. 2027 coalition proponents planning to unseat themselves, not me, says Tinubu. You can get that story on pages 3 and 5. And finally, for the New Telegraph, we have a study here that says nightmares triple risk for premature death. So you can go to page 26 of the New Telegraph to get more detail on that story. And finally, I have Daily Sun here with me. PDP, 10 NWC members battle Damagum, oppose Anyawo's reinstatement as secretary. That's on page 8. Running mate controversy. I'm waiting on Tinubu for next move, says Barrow, Deputy Senate President, on page 8 as well. 2027 ADA, 108 political associations seek registration, says INEC. Declares readiness to conduct by-elections and resume voter registration. The story is on page 6. Military bandits, tough fight sparks tension. We neutralized scores of bandits, says soldiers. 17 troops killed in Niger, says military. That's on page 4. Again, we have President Tinubu to commission Kubo bus terminal today. And that's it for the Daily Sun. And that's it for today on Biscon Television Newspaper Review. I'm Stella Opara. Thank you for joining us.
The 4th Annual Choir Festival of Ashiwaju of Remo Christians is here, and you are cordially invited. The theme for the 2025 edition is With the Voice of Singing. The Choir Festival will feature the winner of the 2024 edition, Emerald Choir, the host choir, Tabernacle Choir, 8 other competing choirs, and 20 observing choirs. Special appearance by King Sunny Ade. Star prize 5 million naira. Second prize 3 million naira. Third prize 2 million naira. The total winning prize for this year's edition is 25 million naira and other consolation prizes for winners in other categories. Date Sunday 6th July 2025. Time 11 a.m. prompt. Venue Abraham Tabernacle, Oba Henry Wale Road, GRA, Shagam, Ogun State. Chief host is Excellency the Senator Otumba Gbenga Daniel, CON, the Ashiwaju of Remo Christians. The Choir Festival, improving the art of singing in our churches. Media partners TVC News, Channels TV, Arise TV, BOS Communications, and others.
Well, I am Sir Olawale Okuni. I am the convener of the June 12 Pro-Democracy Movement and the Secretary General of the conveners of this national dialogue on June Democracy Day, the patriots, eminent patriots of Nigeria, Secretary General of Eminent Patriots of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. Please talk to us about the essence of this gathering today, June 12th.
Well, the essence is for us to review our democratic journey, particularly the democratic rule that is ongoing, and see how we can consolidate it, and see what is missing and what we need to do as a people, and come in form of a dialogue, bring ideas together, and then help governance and government. That is what we are trying to do. The essence, when we say we celebrate this, is to also dig deep into our democratic journey, and then see what is missing, the challenges, and so on and so forth, and see what we can do to better the present democratic experience we have. That is the essence. So we gather today to dialogue from across the country to look at democracy, what is failing, especially what we have identified as lack of democratic constitution in our democracy. We are going to look deep and see how we can bring about a new democratic constitution for Nigeria. Well, of course, from the beginning, we made an error, but, well, that was as a result of the rush that was precipitated by the fact that people in the 90s or 1998 wanted the military to leave. And therefore, we missed the point of having to put together a people's constitution. And so we put in place in 1999 a military decree instead of a people's constitution that is supposed to precede our democratic experiment. But now we have to correct that. Because except we correct that, we are going nowhere. We will be a democracy in military gap, and that will not help us. That will only enable corruption and incompetence and so on and so forth. You can't blame anybody in Nigeria who is ruling, because it's working on a structure and system that is programmed and designed to fail. Nothing can be put on the present democratic foundation we have in Nigeria, the constitutional foundation we have in Nigeria. It will not work. Bring Angel Gabriel, bring any angel to Nigeria to run Nigeria the way it is constitutionally structured. It will not work, because the aspiration and expectation of the people will be different from what exists as system. And so they are working against each other. When the system works against the aspiration and expectation of the people, then it's failure that you have. What you will have is humongous corruption, which you are having. You are having a situation in a democracy where one man can have absolute power, and that is the problem. It's a major problem in our democratic experience. When one man still have absolute authority. Democracy is supposed to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But that will not exist. With the military constitution, which is also a unitary constitution that you run in Nigeria, there can never be development. I stand to be challenged. Therefore, we must be concerted effort to build the advocacy and momentum for us to change it democratically, inclusively, and make sure that government has something to work with that can prosper governance. Thank you. Well, we make, with what we are doing, if we are resilient, if we do not faint, some of us, well, we will make headway. We are not so much made, because people who have seized and captured power don't want to commit political suicide. But the people, we have to compel them by their mobilization to do the right thing. And the right thing is for all of us, including those in power and those outside power. Because those in power today face the humongous insecurity in the country. They also have to pay ransom. They are being promoted here and there, even in their constituency. They can't even go to their constituents because the poverty is very, very abject. And so it's not working for anybody. So why we are meeting today is to try and facilitate or actualize a constitutional democracy that works for all in Nigeria. And that will be looked at the National Constitutional Summit that will be holding from July 15. That is convened by the eminent patriots in conjunction with the National Political Summit Group. And that we hold in Abuja Transcorp Hilton. And that is our expectation. That is what we are looking up to for now. So we think we will make headway. The president here, I think, should be disposed, given his background, should be disposed to making headway with a democratic constitution for Nigeria.
Well, I think it's beyond dispute that our constitution, as presently constituted, does not reflect the popular will, partly because of the way it was established by the military, who did not subject the outcome to a referendum of the Nigerian people. So what we have is a military really imposed constitution, and that is partly the problem we are facing as a country. So the way forward is to return to a people's-oriented constitution, is to inaugurate a constitution that will truly reflect the will of the Nigerian people. And how do you achieve that? You achieve that if you answer two major questions. Nigeria is a highly diversified country, blessed and highly diversified with several nationalities, several ethnicities, several religious beliefs, and a plurality of political views, highly diversified. So you have to answer two major questions. And those questions have been raised by eminent people in the past, and we continue to gloss over it. And as I will return to those questions, we will not be able to get out of the woods. The first question is, do we truly want to live together as a people? We shouldn't assume this. We should subject this question to a referendum. Do we want to live together as people in a diversified, united Nigeria? We need to answer that question in a referendum. The second question will be, if we agree, assuming we agree that we want to live together, the question will then be under what terms? We must define the terms of our existence together as a people. It's not enough for some people to just assume that this is what is good for Nigerians. Nigerians themselves must answer the question, the terms. So that can only arise if you collate views of a cross-section of Nigerians, no matter their status, their standing, their position in society, to have a truly autochthonous Nigerian constitution. Those two questions must be answered. And because we refuse to answer those questions, what we see today is largely a democracy without democracy. It's a democracy, cash and carry democracy, where money is heavily monetized, where the political space is heavily monetized, and that except you have a deep pocket, you are unlikely to be able to make an impact. Secondly, we have a democracy of anointing, except we are anointed by one so-called godfather or powerful interest groups. You are not, no matter the ideas in your brain, the resources you are bringing to the table, if you are not anointed, you are also not likely to. And then we also have again a culture of kill and go democracy. Kill and go democracy. There's a lot of violence unleashed on the polity in the name of electioneering and elections. People are randomly displaced, randomly, eliminated, and intimidated, coerced into taking positions. This is kill and go democracy. None of these represent true democracy, which is defined by participatory democracy, where everybody freely expresses their will, devoid of intimidation, devoid of coercion, devoid of any inducement. And that is when so again, we are telling a lie in saying that we are running a democratic government. We are not running this is a civilian government. And you see all kinds of interest groups coming together, not necessarily because they want to respond to popular will, but because they want to respond to vested interest.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Definitely, what we are seeing today is that after that historic election several years back, we are still here to get it right. We still have a long way to go. But by and large, it's a reflection of who we are. Because those who are running the country, they are from among us. They are not an alien. So, and you see nowadays, it's very difficult for you to achieve a consensus on an issue that is just straightforward. You see some people either for or against. You hardly see people that are genuine intention for that radical. And that is why we are still floundering several years after. People should take their destiny in their own hands. People should rise up. I'm not talking about causing chaos or being riotous. But people should stand firm for what they believe instead of allowing some few people to determine their fate. People to stand up for what they believe. Let us speak out. All hands must be on deck. This is not the issue of getting all those things. If anything is wrong, let's say it's wrong. In a society where you don't have irreducible minimum standard, you are bound to have all manners of things. Something happened yesterday at the Nigerian airport in Lagos here. In a normal setting, you don't need to argue with a former governor, a former national chairman of a party, who is a sitting senator. Even if you are wrong, you know how to ventilate your grievances. You don't need to cause a commotion there. You can't do that in America, you don't do that in Europe. You'll be dealt with according to the law. But because you have all the channels to ventilate your grievances, yet instead, you took the law into his hands. But you see some people supporting that even the so-called airline they have. You're supposed to say it as it is. If someone is right, say you are right. If you are wrong, say you are wrong. There is no point either for or against. But because you see people nowadays, whatever they do, what is in it for me? That's it. You see our election is almost it's a bazaar for sale. The Boko Sebe, you see people offering money. Because before it was also, during Abiola, June 12th, it was also, people voted freely according to, he defeated Tova in his Kano base. Can you have that nowadays? No. That's it. It's because of the reflection of what we are doing.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribes and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians all are proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace, oh, back to honor, and this we count as gain. To hand unto our children a banner without stain. Oh God of all creation, grant these our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed, and so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Thank you very much. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, participants for this June 12th Annual Democracy Day National Dialogue. I'd want to hand the microphone over to Bishop Bolanle, the first woman bishop in Africa, to lead us in the opening prayers. My Lord Bishop.
Please let us stand. Father, we thank you. We bless you for this day. We thank you for
for Chief MK Abiola. We thank you for every democracy push forward. We thank you, O Lord, for great work they have done. We thank you that you love Nigeria. We thank you that Nigeria will be stable. And we say, everyone that lost Nigeria to be peaceful, your life will be peaceful. I pray for everyone today. In the name of Jesus, your life will be straightforward. Amen. The Lord will prosper you. The Lord will make you smile. You shall not cry. The Lord will be the family of Chief Abiola in the name of Jesus Christ. The Lord God in his mercy will help Nigeria, will help democracy in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Men of the press, I am delighted to welcome you to this annual solemn and I think it's safe to say the institutional event now this year that we have been doing. The first thing to do is to thank all those who have worked so hard to make the day possible. I'm introduced as the chairman, but we know those who worked hard here are those who are never introduced. It's a good time to give them a round of applause. Those who have put everything together, the vendors and the volunteers. The essence of today's gathering, historically and institutionally, is to reflect, remember, and take inspiration from this particular date, June 12, which I argue is the source of this republic. It is a time to reflect on personal sacrifice, collective resolve, and I dare say national vision of a future. In the sense that the June 12, regardless of how people voted before that election, was a time when the whole country was united, at least most part of the country, to say this is what we wanted and this is where we want to go to. I say most part of the country, and we must appreciate those most part of the country, especially the ones that stood up for something. We must also remember there are some people who did not stand up for anything, or were truly on the other side. I think we balance that scale. As a student of history, it is always good to remember the full story. But because we are, by our natural character and culture, people of God, of mosque and Muslim, regardless of how we drive on the road, we're still Christians. I always notice that our road is full of Christian cars with Christian drivers in the way we behave. But because we're prone, to the virtues of forgiveness and hope is what we should be driving at, and we should, put aside those who are not part of it. But we must remember those who sacrificed, those who stood for something, and take inspiration for them for the future. The theme of today is to reflect on that future. It must be said that now, after all these years, some things have happened. They're not the same again. June 12 is recognized as a national day, and that is why we have a public holiday here. Regardless of what you think about him, kudos must be given to the man who did that. President Muhammadu Buhari was the one. If I believe that's the best thing he did in his 8 years, but that is just me. At least, he did that one thing, and it has followed today, and we still recognize it. So that has been done. After him, it has been said that that election, regarded as free and fair by everybody, is truly free and fair, and the winner of that election has been recognized. It is a view of some of us, and my own personal very held view, that the next step forward in the vision of June 12 is a people's democratic constitution for Nigeria. That is where we need to go now. And that is why the reason why the Patriots are leading a summit that will push for that people's democratic constitution. And whilst I welcome everybody, allow me to parochially and indulgently give a special welcome to the representatives of our zones, of the Patriots Advocacy Committee zones who are here with us physically. I see Mogaji Adejumo, Southwest. I see Chief Ezen, Southeast. I see Professor. Oh, Prof, you should be here. Don't be like me. Well, you're a professor too. You're doing strange things. Come to the high table. Come and sit with the. Please give Professor Gidado SAN if you like titles. He's not just a lawyer, he's a jurist, a scholar, a professor of law, senior advocate of Nigeria. That is with us. So we give, and to those online, I know Dr. Omeri is online, Professor Gab of the North Central, Professor Gaba is online as well for the Northwest. And that is why I give special recognition to these leaders of their zones, because across the country, there are consultations and deliberations going on. And part of what we hope to achieve today is to be another consultative forum to reflect on Nigeria and its democratic future, juxtaposed with the need for a people's democratic constitution. At some point, we shall be hearing from members of this zone to give us an overview of themselves and their efforts so far in terms of collaboration, consultation, and of course collaboration, yes, and deliberations, and then moving forward to having a national political summit later this year in July in Abuja. To the rest of us, welcome. Thank you for coming. I think today should be a day of reflection, yes, I think, but it also should be a day of inspiration to think of the Nigeria we want. I think those who voted for, those who defended the vote, and those who stood for June 12th, and indeed young people who discovered June 12th later, we should think of why is it that that date is sacred? Why is it is important? What is it we are hoping from it, and how far are we from what we hoped for from that day? I think it would be good for those committed to the vision of June 12 to take it upon themselves to try to educate those who were not there. The generations that came later and that will be after, to understand the source of this republic and to recognize those who labored for it truly. It is my very personal view that where we are in this country today, June 12 is bigger than May 29. June 12 for the Fourth Republic is bigger than October 1st. Because this June 12 is one time in which the people, that expression, we the people, actually stood up to stand for something. As we continue our deliberations today, my invitation is that we reflect and we do as much as possible to be inspired. Thank you very much and welcome to June 12, 2025.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, patriots, activists, etc. This is a pro-democracy program. It's a program for us to set agenda for our democracy for the next 1 year. And that's what we do annually. Annually, we gather together before tribute to the matters of our struggle, to set agenda for the year ahead, especially for democracy. What do we need to talk more about that government will hear or should hear? What are we going to drum in the ears of government? And that's why we are doing this gathering, while celebrating the fact that we have something that looks like democracy. Because there is no way you have a democracy without a people's constitution. It is an aberration. It is an aberration. What happened in 1998 is an aberration, though it has been explained under the context of rush, military rush power. That, for us, is an aberration. As I remember that the leadership of NADECO, headed by Chief Tony Enauru of blessed memory, at that time warned us. But some of us here in Nigeria also felt that we needed to get these guys out of power. That they have tormented us so much, and we needed to, whatever way. If Abdul Salami Abubakar said at that time that he wanted to leave, we should encourage him to. So that was what happened. And that was why we have on our hand today a military decree instead of a constitution. And that has not helped us anyway. It has not helped the cause of democracy. It has not helped the cause of development. It has impeded everything. It has put power into the hands of state captors. And therefore today you have civilian, you will always have civilian dictatorship where you have this kind of structure. It is inevitable. Because power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it is inevitable when you have a constitution that is warped, that is military and unitary in nature. There is no democracy to be built on such constitution. And that is why we are gathered here, to further deepen and consolidate our advocacy for a new democratic constitution that can help us drive democracy to development. Without such, what do you call constitution? The constitution itself is the grand norm of the country. It defines the country. It is the country. Without a constitution, there is no country. All you have is state of anarchy. The constitution is not by itself a law. It's different from a law. The constitution is a grand norm. It's not a law. It's the grand norm. It's the totality of the agreement of the people who are constituted in a territory. So it's fundamental. It is profound. A law is made out of a constitution. Every law that is made contrary to the provision of the constitution shall be null and void and of no effect. That is the point. Therefore, the constitution is different from a law. People mistake constitution as the no, it's the grand norm, totality of. As a matter of fact, it is made of political agreement. Nothing too legal about it. It is more legitimate to work than legal. If it is not legitimately put, if it is not done by the constituents that are involved in building the country, it will be illegitimate. And there is no legality you can bring on an illegitimate constitution. All of these facts must be well established. By force, the military will put themselves into power, the force of arms, and then do decree. They decree by that force and say, this shall be. And if you confront them, they confront you with force of arms. They take you, imprison you, or shoot you. But when you are in a civilian democratic government or environment, what you have is that the constitution prevails. It's the constitution. That is, the people of the country comes together, maybe at a constituent assembly, a constitutional conference, and put together a constitution that is agreed by them. We must agree. It is after they agree to that provisions that they take it out and proclaim it over the country. The constitution of a country is not decreed by government, because government are agents of the people. Hello? So when people begin to say the president must assent to, people like Professor Ben Nwabweze that I worked with several, said, no, you don't need it. Maybe for the purpose of politically correct or just diplomacy. You would not need a constitution that the Constituent Assembly have proclaimed to be assented to by sitting government. You don't. You know, because it's an agent. It is proclaimed and given unto government to say this is our covenant of how we want this place to be run. These are the procedure to having a stable democracy. It's a procedural thing that is missing in Nigeria. And except you have that, you are not going to go. And rigmarole is so much. You have corruption over. You have the best man. Put Joseph Ever there. He cannot succeed with this constitution. Go and bring Pope. Ever. Go and bring Pope to come and run Nigeria. The way it is constituted, he will fail. That's Pope. Therefore, but the problem is that when people get to power, they are overwhelmed by the local or the paraphernalia of office and the juices of government. And they don't want to do it. They don't want to commit political suicide. They don't want to change it. It's very difficult to change because they are the ones saddled with changing it as the military have changed it. They won't want to lose their absolute power to the people and share it. That is the point. That is what we are facing in Nigeria. So agenda setting for us, it must be clear to us, ab initio, for those of us who want to intervene, that what we have today is short of a people's constitution. And that cannot be demolished. As a matter of fact, I quote Professor Ben Nwabweze, was my chairman in Patriot. Was my chairman, and I am still the Secretary General of the Patriot. He said there is no democracy in Nigeria. He came to a submission. We had a meeting and said no democracy in Nigeria because it's not possible to have democracy without a democratic constitution. That what precedes a democracy and defines your democracy is the democracy that you have made into a constitution. And therefore, he submitted at that time in Patriot that no democracy. As a matter of fact, Nigeria is not yet a democracy. Therefore, if we must do something, and that's very radical, that's very thorough, something about our democracy. We have eggheads in the house, from veteran Joseph Ever, Mogaji Adejumo, SAN Dr. Wahab Kule Shitu, and Professor Maxwell Gidado, SAN. They are going to do justice. These are eminent scholars. They are going to do justice. Chief Mrs. Ifeanyiwa is also here. But those scholars that I've mentioned will tell us how we get out of this wood. We must get out of the wood. There is no need for the protest going on if government does what is right. There is no need. Protest everywhere on the street today is because we have not done what is right. It just takes our president to stand up and say, hey, I want to change this. There is an emergency I have identified in Nigeria. The constitution is not working and nothing is working. All of you come together, let's discuss, and I will have the will to implement. It's as simple. And we told him on August 9, 2024, when we visited him, that that's the way to go. We were led by Chief Emeka Anyoku, GCON CFA, to that major meeting. And therefore today, I'd like to congratulate you all seated because you are going to be hearing a very profound mind how we should proceed. They are going to have their time to use 7 minutes to intervene profoundly. They will talk to us on what we need to do, what steps, what they have done in their zones, and what they have done in their various advocacy. So I'd like you to feel at home. We are still expecting some of our comrades who will join us in the course of this. It promises to be a very great event today, after which we'll move from here to perform our annual tribute at the residence of Chief M.K. Abiola. I remember the day Chief M.K. Abiola was being buried. I remember the whole trouble in that house. I remember how myself and Kola Abiola conversed, and then we reached an agreement on how to receive the body. Because there were all plans to take that body, because everybody believes that MK will belong to them. And they said the body must be given to them, and they so called on me, and then to me that I should help receive the body and then hand it over to the family, which of course happened. And you have been seeing videos, some videos of it happened. So therefore, and we have not changed. Since that time in 98, we have always gone there to show our respect with eminent leaders and political associates of the late MKO Abiola. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, great Nigerian people, I welcome you, joining Professor Kila to welcome you to this very historic national dialogue on the constitutional journey of Nigeria. I thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of this coordinating team, respected academics, the SAN, and other distinguished invited guests, good morning. I represent who should have been here this morning together with you. We had our bookings to come this morning. On our way to the airport, he had a very strict emergency issue that he had to stop in Abuja and instructed me to move down. I appreciate for allowing me to speak first in the goodwill message, because my flight back to Abuja is by 3 o'clock and my train back to Kaduna is 5 o'clock. So I express my happiness to be part of this event, because since the annulment of June 12, there is no day that we missed the event of marking the June 12. As part of those who has been part of the struggle since 1993, myself and Senator Shosani and others, including the present governor of Kaduna State. So I express gratitude for this forum and those that has been sparing this activity over the years. You know, Wale Akuni has been doing very well, and other members of the team, with respect to one of our veteran, Professor Kila, and others. So I wish this forum will realize our long-time dreams. Actually, issue of constitution in this country, those that are spearheading the country are always the violators of the constitution. My assumption, even if the constitution has been right, what needed to be put right is those who will manage the constitution as well, because that is key. The country has been in mess. We have been in democracy for the last 20 something years. Look at the institutional breakdown. Look at how the system has been crippling over the years, to the level that a country that has been so endowed, we have been so demeaned, reduced to the level that we are fighting for what we will eat, which is very unfortunate. So I wish this forum will continue agitating to the time that we realize our dreams. I thank you very much, and I wish you fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chief Mrs. Ifeanyi. I'm standing on behalf of all women in this house. If you look at the here, I think for them giving me the opportunity to speak, that means they recognize women. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Let me first of all send down the goodwill message from the Southeast. I'll read it out for everyone to hear. Please bear with me. A tribute from the people of the Southeast on the occasion of June 12th, Nigeria Democracy Day, issued by the Advocacy Committee of the Patriots. On this historic day, June 12th, Nigeria Democracy Day, the Advocacy Committee of the Patriots said, and the people of the Southeast region rise in solemn remembrance and national reflection. We pay heartfelt tribute to Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale MKO Abiola, whose life and sacrifice became a turning point in Nigeria long and painful journey towards democracy. June 12th was more than a date on the calendar. It was a people's mandate, a moment when Nigerians across ethnic, religious, and regional united to choose hope over fear, progress over stagnation, and justice over oppression. MKO Abiola carried the weight of that hope, and the Southeast stood firmly with him, casting votes not just a man, but for the vision of a new Nigeria. Yet, what followed was betrayal of the people's will, of our democratic principles, and of the lives committed to that noble cause. We remembered with deep sorrow the cold-blooded murder of Alaja Kudirat Abiola, a wife, a mother, a fearless heroine of democracy. Her voice rang out boldly against tyranny, and for that, she was silenced by bullets. Her death was not only a personal tragedy, but a national wound. A wound our collective soul. To the Abiola family, we say we carry your grief with you. And to all Nigerians who lost loved ones or suffered persecution in that era, we say your sacrifice will never be forgotten. We recognize your pain, and we join our hearts with love in prayers and remembrance. I use this moment to thank everyone and to stand with everybody that stand with us for good Democracy Day. And for the future, we pray that all of you will work towards making it work, and in Jesus' name, it shall come to pass. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The chairman of this summit and today's event taking place at this very moment, our their veteran comrade Adeole Akuni, the chairman of the local organizing committee of this summit, our own Professor Killer, fellow chairman from the rest of the zones of the Advocacy Mobilization Committee, of which I represent the Northeast, fellow compatriots fellow comrades and fellow Nigerians, I bring you greetings from the Northeast Zone, and I stand here to give an account of what the Northeast Patriots, led by our own committee on mobilization in preparation for the summit coming up in July, have put in place. My presentation will be in two segments. The first segment will be for me to give you an update on how we are fared at the Northeast and where we are heading to come the 15th of July. And lastly, I would also wish to comment on the event of the day, the Democracy Day, juxtaposing it with our topic of the fact that there can't be a democracy without a democratic constitution. And as a professor of constitutional law, I will reveal to you today why Nigeria needs a people's constitution. What we have is a military gift, to us. It is not a constitution. And my fellow sisters and mothers that are here, I will also reveal to you the fact that this constitution does not recognize you, the women folk. There is no mention of she in the constitution. It is a male chauvinist constitution. And that would have just been corrected by a statement saying anywhere you see he, it also stands for she. But there's even no respect for it. Let me not start with the last one. Let me give an account of what our committee has been doing. Now, I would also wish to let you know that the Northeast comprises of 6 states, stretching from the Borno to the Mambila Plateau in Taraba State. And we have eminent patriots that are members of this mobilization and advocacy committee. I'll just mention a few. We have comrades like Salihu Lukman Abubakar from Bauchi. We have Dr. Anthony Manzo from Taraba State. We also have Engineer Saad Abdullahi Gombe, PCC representing Gombe. Yours truly representing Adamawa. And I wish to let you know that we had in Adamawa State produced a state where one of the campaign managers of the late Mko Abiola in the person of late Dr. Jonathan Zungina comes from. So we have been part of this struggle. And up till the moment, Adamawa can never, and Northeast can never be excised from the Democracy Day that we're celebrating today, even though supposedly we claim to be a democracy. So the advocacy committee went round. We did that in accordance with the composition of the leadership in the various states. And we appealed to the various stakeholders, i.e. the youth. We got views of the youth, women, the press, the media, the academics, civil servants, civil societies, NGOs, and not forgetting the traditional rulers. They, as custodians of our culture and tradition, the Constitution has also left them out completely. And this is to tell you that what some of the insecurity we are facing in this country is the fact that we relegated the traditional institutions that are, they are the custodians, of the culture and the tradition. And in those days, you know how when a visitor comes to a community, the traditional ruler must know that new person. And the character of such a person will be known to the community. But not today, when it's all commerce game. So when a constitution leaves out certain parts of people that it ought not to. The end result will be this crisis, we're in presently. And lastly, the elders. So we reached out to these various groups and got their views, because a constitution is supposed to be the people's contract. It is the fons et origo, the alpha and the omega. In fact, a professor in South Africa, Professor Alves, described a constitution as the autobiography of a nation. The constitution ought to tell you the history, the story of that country. If the country is made of rocks, it will be stated there in the constitution. So if you want to know how a nation is run, take a look at the constitution of that country, and it will tell you the story, the autobiography of that very society. Hence, we had to get inputs from all these classes of groups of interest stakeholders that I have adumbrated, and we have come up with a position paper which will be elaborately given at the summit that is coming up on the 15th. And the final leg we're going to do now is where all of us will now come together in Bauchi next week, where we hope to hold a town hall meeting to now synthesize all the inputs that we've gotten from these very groups that will form our own presentation, the memo that the patriots will present to the 10th Assembly, because this National Assembly is the 10th Assembly as far as the lawmakers that have been saddled with the responsibility of altering this constitution. There are two ways of getting out of the quagmire we found ourselves. One is by amending the present constitution, because nature and law uphold vacuum. We have missed the train. If Abdul Salam, General Abdul Salam Obakar, had sought opinion of experts in law, in constitution making, they would have given him, we would have advised him on the steps to take, on how to come about with a people's constitution. But he was in a hurry. He hurriedly put together, do you know that this constitution, this contraption we call 1999 constitution, was put together within 2 weeks? And the 25 so-called wise men, there was only one woman representing Nigerian women on that committee. Little wonder that they overwhelmed the woman, that she even overlooked some of these things that ended up coming out in the constitution. A typical one is under citizenship. If a Nigerian man marries a non-Nigerian woman, the non-Nigerian woman automatically gets the citizenship of Nigeria. But the reverse is not the case. If a Nigerian woman marries a non-Nigerian, that non-Nigerian will have to apply for citizenship. He doesn't get it automatically. Why wouldn't the policy of what is good for the goose is also good for what? The gander. Why the discrimination? If there were a good representation of women on that Abdul Salam committee led by the late Justice Nikki Toby, they would have voiced out and said, look, we don't agree. This should not stand. Make sure women are included. And it's the same goes for the fact that the constitution, the language of the constitution is male dominated. It's all he shall do this, he shall not do this. No, he stroke she. Look at some democratically elected countries' constitution, and you will see there's no such a language as the 1999 constitution contains. So we have looked at thoroughly some of the features of this 1999 constitution. It is the constitution that tells lies against itself. How could a constitution begin in the preamble by saying, we the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria haven't sat and examined and looked at the laws and everything of this country, decided to give to ourselves this constitution. Was that what happened? That was what happened. So even up initio, from preamble, the constitution was just lying against itself. Secondly, it claims to be a federal constitution, but it's only in name. But in actual fact, it's a unitary constitution. There is nothing federal in our constitution. It's just a nomenclature. If you digest the constitution, everything is centered towards the federal government. The federal government is saturated with powers and with resources. If you look at the exclusive legislative list, it contains 68 items that the National Assembly can legislate upon. Glory to the Fifth Amendment. Now we have Seventh Amendment to the Constitution. This one, by the grace of God, if it takes place under the Tinubu administration, it will be the 8th Amendment to the Constitution. Now, these 7 amendments that took place was how the concurrent list even got up to 30. Otherwise, it was just 13. It's 30 items that ought to be legislated upon or handled by states are all being sent to Abuja. That is the more reason why you see Abuja being saturated. Everybody is running to Abuja. It's because the constitution gave more revenue sharing formula. How can federal just take 52.something% and you leave local governments where 80% of Nigerians reside with about 23 or 25%? It doesn't add up. So these are the kinds of items that we've looked at in the Constitution. Even the state of insecurity in the nation has its roots in the Constitution. How can a nation of over 200 million people end up with less than 500,000 policemen? And these policemen are federal police. Nigeria, to my mind, is ripe now for state police. Because when we have, and this can only be done by an amendment to the Constitution, making the police to be under concurrent legislative list, to enable most of the vigilantes that are operating around, are they not the kind of jobs that state policemen would do? So I'm appealing to the patriots that this contraption we have needs to be amended, because presently the only modus operandi of making this constitution to be a people's constitution is by the way the patriots are taking it on, by going and seeing the people and hearing from the people, getting the pulse of Nigerians about the 1999 constitution, and to alter it and make it a people's constitution, so that it will be a democratic constitution that will now ensure we have true democracy. And it's only through democracy, true democracy, that we can now achieve development in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
For this advocacy, the states in the South had their town hall meetings, and discussions were made. Traditional rulers were invited, and every ethnic nationality in the different states in the South were invited to speak on what they truly want. I would play a short clip for the one of Delta, and everything. A communique was also released at the end of the summits in the South region, which was also published in Tuesday's Vanguard newspaper media. This was what we did in Delta, the advocacy committee. Just a summary of it, please.
need to be able to be justiciable in those rights. If your rights are being treaded on, can you take the government to court? That is what the Constitution is about.
It is an axiomatic fact that our dear nation has been battling issues that touch on our collective existence and has therefore led to the justified clamor for the groundswell of calls for restructuring of our federation. Restructuring in the real sense of the word, meaning a total overhaul and reinventing of our new union to meet our unique diversity and ethnic aspirations.
There is no point in being right and being alone. Even when we're right, we must learn to work with other people. Because otherwise, then we have a desert, and they say no man is an island by itself. No matter how bright we are, how rich we are, how resourceful we are, we need other people. If we have our oil and nobody wants it, what are we going to do with it? It is because other people need our oil that our oil has value.
Because everything we are doing in Nigeria, without a new constitution, we are meant to struggle. And that is why Nigeria is not growing, because we are on a faulty foundation. The constitution, if everybody have it, will now put us on the right platform to grow.
Thank you very much. We had in the South Station from Deacon Chris Iyowai, Chairman of the Advocacy and Mobilization Committee of the Patriots for the summit in Abuja. These were all pre-consultation and town hall meetings. Thank you very much. At this juncture, let me invite Mogaji Adeshimo, who is the who is the chairman of the Southwest Advocacy and Mobilization Committee of the Patriots, to come and do his presentation.
Stood up for the South has just done. That presentation, I should think we should give them. Please. If I appear to be getting up a little slower, it's not because of my age. It's more because I'm not feeling too well. And I just had to be here today, so please permit me to just find my way to the podium and focus more on what I'm going to say. June 12, 1993. 1993 shall remain indelible in my mind because I was part of that exercise. The lady who came to help out, that's Papa Awolowo's granddaughter. And on that day, June 12, 1993, we expected so much. June 12, 1993 was meant to have been that turnaround point. If we should remember the hope, that was the slogan that Sabiola said he was bringing. The hope, well, is still elusive even today. June 12, 1993 was 32 years ago. And if you are not like 18 years of age, as at that time, you wouldn't have been able to vote. So if you add 32 plus 18, I don't know how many people are younger than 50. If you are not quite 50 years old, you may not have experienced what some of us experienced. And that is sad, because most of the youths we have today may not really know what Nigeria was. And I would go ahead and just show us a little of what Nigeria was. As at 1980, $1 was 80 kobo. 1 pound was 90 kobo as at 1980. Today, $1 is 1,650. There was a Professor Aluko who said, do not ever devalue your currency. The same thing Papa Awolowo said. Professor Aluko, of course, was one of the disciples of Papa Awolowo. We fought a civil war when there was no oil. We didn't have any oil boom until 1973. But we fought a civil war and Nigeria did not borrow 1 kobo. And today, 1 pound is 2,000 naira and 100. So, what happened? What really happened? We were talking of hope. So, there was a Babangida that officially, for the very first time in this country, devalued our money. Professor Luko went ahead and said that whoever devalues the currency of his nation is a traitor. And it has not stopped. If anybody is talking about fuel subsidy, it started from the moment we devalued our money. Now, 1980, we were not importing fuel. In fact, we were exporting fuel. 1980. Today, everybody is buying a Tokumbo car and in 1980, we were assembling cars and trucks and lorries and tractors. We were assembling Volkswagen in Lagos. We were assembling Peugeot in Kaduna. Anamco was assembling trucks and buses in Enugu. Where else? Okay, there was even in Ibadan, tractor. In Ibadan, we were assembling, what were we assembling in Ibadan? Who can remember? Sorry? We were doing all manners of things. In fact, Oluwa Glass was supplying the glass, windscreen and everything for all these cars. Dunlop was doing the seats for Peugeot as well as, yes, Ibadan Exide battery. 30% of these cars we were assembling were items made here in Nigeria. But what do we have today? Nothing. The richest of us, of all of us here can do is to buy yet another Tokumbo car. Now, I wouldn't know if Abiola would be happy wherever he is for the sacrifice that Abiola had to make for us to have democracy. Because 25 years after, 26 years, where exactly are we? As soon as we came in, I was discussing with my sister Funke here, and I needed to call Abiola. Well, what was coming to my mind was 1994. 1994, the whole of the leaders in the Southwest, well, I was not a leader. I was just somebody who was close to MKO Abiola. And I was running a financial institution. And we all gathered at Premier Hotel in Ibadan, where Papa Adesanya was proclaimed the leader. And I surprised everyone. We had this not 9-knot phones then, Nokia. The one I had was a big one. It was a very big one. So I just called Abiola, who was in the UK. I just called him and I went to Papa Adesanya. I said, sir, leader, talk to MKO. That was 1994. And Kola and I have gone through so much. Kola does not believe in Nigeria anymore. The sacrifice Abiola made or made his family. So I look at all of that and I feel ashamed. Is that the way to pay back somebody who paid with his life for the democracy that we're meant to be celebrating? What exactly are we celebrating? There's a radio station, Unique FM, that called me this morning. It actually belongs to Aregbesola in Elisha. I said, we're calling you on the celebration. I said, well, that is why I will probably not talk to some journalists again. What are you celebrating? If you even said, oh, June 2 anniversary, I probably would excuse you. But then you are saying celebration. You are celebrating injustice. You are celebrating terror. You are celebrating corruption. I saw a video. And, well, the dispatch rider, then the escort cars, and then the siren, and every other thing. And I thought maybe a governor or a president was to pass. And I saw people hailing. And somehow, I realized this cannot be Mr. President. His envoy is about 80 cars. This one is just about 25 cars. And people were so close to the main vehicle. And the person occupying the main vehicle even had the audacity to come out. And it turned out to be Yahaya Bello. In this our democracy, let somebody just go mistakenly into the market to go and steal maybe a tuber of yam. You'll probably be dead. The people would. A tuber of yam, how much is a tuber of yam? 5,000, right? This is somebody that carries on his head about 300 billion naira. Oh dear. So what are we celebrating? I would say we should be mourning. We should not be in any celebrating well, mood, as it were. And I'm supposed to give a report of what we have done in the Southwest. You still have to wait a little. I'll come to that. What I want to say is this. Good to know that Professor Kidado, Maxwell Kidado is here. We only meet on the platform. You're welcome, sir. We have worked hard. Us members of the Patriots Group, we've worked hard. We've all gone through having to do town hall meetings and all that. Sir, did anybody give you money? So you raised it among your people. The gentleman who reported what happened in South, I would like to ask him the same question. Because they didn't give us any dime. Members of my committee, we raised the money to do that. Arole Awolowo is here. We all raised money among ourselves. If for that venture, one of our members, who is permanently resident in the UK, he flew to Nigeria to be part of that town hall. Niyi Akintola's son, like you, sir, same Niyi Akintola, he flew from Abuja that morning to be part of that town hall meeting. We used a place called Odudua Hall, and there's a reason for that. People didn't just come. We gave them water. We gave them meat pie. The generator was working well. So we actually spent good money. And then 10 Yoruba groups were there. Afenifere came. Yoruba Elders Council came. Yoruba Council of Elders. There is a difference. They came. Agbekoya came. Yoruba Support Group came. Yoruba Patriots came. They are not our patriots, but patriots. Yoruba Vanguard came. I'm just trying to remember. And then some other individuals, AIG retired, AIG Olakwe, and Tuji Olakwini came, not the AIG of that time. They are almost equal to IGO, but certainly above the IG, because they were real AIGs. So we had quite an array of people that came. So shout out to my committee members, Kayode Williams, Funke Awolowo, Architect Reverend Canon Goke, Omibodun, Dr. Dereme Desalu. Who have I left out? Mrs. Adenike Olujembola. Who again have I left out? Sorry? Oh, Dr. Akinfapunda, yes. Dr. Shino Fagbenro Byron. So shout out to my committee members for that dedication, for their forthrightness, for everything that they have put in, and particularly for coming out with the funds. The very first meeting we had to say, let's begin to put that money. You were there. 3 people just got up 100,000. So in this economy, we would like to say that we started well by having the right type of people that to be able to deliver on this project. Because this project is important. Just like Professor Maxwell Gidado has said, what is the use of saying you have a country when you don't have the right set of laws? The Yoruba will say, ìlú tí ò sí òfin, ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ò sí. You don't understand that, sir. I will break it down. In any land where there are no laws to guide the people and to guard the people, then there is no sin. You can only go about and do whatever you want to do because there are no laws. But then the Yoruba are wise to say the kind of laws that you will choose to have must not in any way tamper with their dignity, must not tamper with their humanity. Because even with us, the Yoruba, we will call the king Alashe Ikeji Orisha. Oh, he's the all and all and only second to the gods. But in Yoruba land, if any of our kings misbehave, what do? We tell them to shiga. We tell them to Terry Basho. We tell them to commit suicide. And I can give you names of obas that went astray, and the people will tell them, go and do X, and they must do it. We are still battling with when the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò Afọ̀njá demanded for the head of the Aláàfin Aole. That one decided, yes, I will release my head, but before I do, it now cost. It cost, I said, so certain things I won't repeat here. When I met Papa Awolowo for the very first time, I was a first-year student at the University of Ife. I only took my father, who was who was an in-law to Papa Alayode to the house, and Papa Awolowo came and said, we must find a way of doing away with that cost, because that cost is what is affecting us. So if somebody sees me being so involved in everything, part of it is because we must do away with that cost. Whatever it takes, we will do. I've been told to cut my address short. So I will simply say that we've had our own town hall meeting. We have completed the document we are taking to Abuja. We have consulted far and wide with those that we want to represent us, the very first team in Yoruba land that will represent us, and it didn't matter where they belong. This is not about politics. This is not about partisanship. In fact, there is a way I have described it. We are politically agnostic. Politically agnostic. We don't want to associate with any party. So even in our committee, we have those who belong to one party or the other, but this is what we want to say, represent what the Southwest will always demand for. So on that behalf, I would yield to the next speaker, This is my first time of attending the Patriots Group's June 12 anniversary. And that is because I have always, for the past, say, 10 years, attended the one that the Are Ona Kakanfo organizes. Even as we speak, they're at Excellence Hotel at Ogba. And even with my dear sister, Dr. Joe Odumaki. So, but next year, hopefully, I will consider this just a short break until we meet again next year. Thank you so very much.
Good morning, good afternoon, distinguished patriots, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for not being able to be with you, but happy that the sitting convened. First and foremost, we, the North Central, have been discussing this issue of constitutional review. And our members, we have members from all the 6 states in the zone, including the FCT, that makes 7. And within the period, individually and collectively, we endeavored to consult people across the zone. I was in Benue, I was in Plateau, and I've also consulted here in Abuja. We are collecting the list of names of participants for the summit. We also got notices for invitation of speakers to the summit, and we have sent those letters and notices to the respective persons accordingly. In fact, last night, midnight, I got confirmation from some of those nominated. Now, in the course of consultation, the question that kept coming up is, beyond Abiola, what does June 12 mean? Because the conclusion of most of those we met said, well, Abiola represented the flag, but people made Abiola who he was. They voted for him because there was a conviction and a commitment to some values. What are these values? Have we imbibed them even after the military did what they did with the Constitution? If we have not, why are we not using it? Why are we not? Why is the country where it is? What should we do to uphold those values, those ethics, those needs that became glaring and needed the intervention of patriots at that time, including the late Chief Abiola? Now, in summary, it says, look, a new constitution means power of the people must manifest and produce a Nigeria that everyone would wish to belong, irrespective of where you come from. Let the question first be, who are you? The next answer should be, I am a Nigerian. Which part of Nigeria? I am a Nigerian. Let that be the persuasive spirit of our oneness, of our unity, and therefore, power of the people, as represented by the victory of Abiola on June 12th, meant that it emerged to put the challenge of the nation behind and push boundaries for peace, for unity, and for development. Today, the challenge have grown and expanded to, many areas of insecurity, personal security, food security, infrastructure security, and economic confusion. So what does the zone want to see? It wants to see a Nigeria that sees, that, views, upholds the values, upholds everyone, as a matter of right, as a matter of relationship, as citizens of one great country that is pooling resources, intelligence, and effort together in order to move faster than at the time we started. Because most people today, and many of us here, can attest to the fact that when you look back 30 years, 40 years, 50 years ago, you thought Nigeria was going to be better than the United Kingdom, but it was going to be better than Canada, and be competing with so many other countries. In fact, there were countries that are now nearing the first world that only listened to Nigeria before they took any stand in international politics. Where are we now? Do those countries still listen to us? So the zone, issues that confront the zone right now are the issues of insecurity. They want democracy. They want Nigerian, truly Nigerian. Zones is thinking of 12 regions, not 3. And these regions, this country, like I have to emphasize this because when I spoke to the Chidoma and the representative of the TOTIF 2 weeks ago, the emphasis was on values, ethics, identity, and the entrenchment of Nigerian historical studies to expand the frontiers of our collectivism, even at the individual level. Let the Nigerian at the individual level speak, act, behave for Nigeria, not for his zone, not for his region. And therefore, the middle belt, the North Central region wants to see, for emphasis, it says it is the middle belt of the country, where everyone is connected through it to the rest of the regions. The other parts of the country do not have direct connection until they come to the middle belt, to the central Nigeria. So if the central Nigeria is the rainbow, center, why should we begin, and it accommodates everyone, why should we be different? Why should we see ourselves as Yoruba, as Igbo, as this and that? After all, the entire North Central, and parts of every part of this country voted for Abiola because he stood for a value that they believed in. That is the value of one Nigeria. Thank you. And as for the members, the secretary didn't know, she's just joining. She's going to join us now to continue. Most of our members are happy and we are willing to contribute and move forward. Essentially, serve for the information of this meeting. We are planning our own town hall. We have not held one. The consultations have mostly been at individual and personal levels. We hope to host a town hall meeting by early next week, where everyone will bring their views. We have a document that is being produced.
Good afternoon, all.
Is that my cue out?
Please, can we mute?
So, thank you very much, Veteran Chair. Thank you, rest of the comrades and team. Thank you and good afternoon, great Nigerian patrons.
Thank you. The House, we still have Dr. Kalu Dukaka, but he's not going to speak here. We have decided he will make his speech at MKO Abiola's house, where we have fuller media and fuller everything. And also Prince Adebayo, they will be speaking at the tribute session, and they can make their intervention, political intervention, intellectual intervention, ideological, at that level, where we have fuller coverage. But without much ado, before we step out, because information reaching us that we are being expected at MKO Abiola's residence about now. We will take 2 before we leave here. I again want to recognize Honorable Kenny Kadiri. Please stand up for recognition once again. Recognize your presence and commitment.
Yes, I am here. I hope I'm here. I'm being heard.
Yes.
My name is Professor Uchewo.
For him, please. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you, comrade, the veteran K. I salute you. I bring good tidings. I salute the chairman, the very, very distinguished Dr. Kalu Idikakalu, and I salute the committed people of Nigeria. I recall with great affection the days during which we shared dreams with the late Chief MKO Abiola, during which we constructed a future for Nigeria, and we were confident that by today, Nigeria would have been one of the top 10 economies in the world. I recall the passion with which we canvassed for the elections that took place on the 12th of June. And I recall the great push of pain that went up our spines when the people of Nigeria were betrayed in the cancellation of those elections. It is in utter, I don't know why Professor Killer is calling me on the other line. I'm speaking already, I'm speaking, yes, okay. Thank you, my apologies. It is that pain that led us to write that article, We Must Say Never Again, which led to the founding of the Concerned Professionals. That pain that led us to march on the streets of Lagos, and we were beaten by policemen, even when many of us were executives of leading multinational companies. But we cared more for our country than for our egos. And after all of that, the military eventually threw in the towel. And we ask ourselves today, is this the democracy that we nearly laid down our lives for? This calls for reflection. Nigeria surely will rise up again. It is this quest for Nigeria to rise up again that makes the constitutional process that you are embarking on very, very important. It is this quest for Nigeria to rise again that means that rational public conversation must dominate how we engage as a people so that we can build a future that our children will be proud of. We must take on a culture of freedom. As we say, freedom now, and if we die, we die. The Nigerian people must claim freedom as a badge and work in service for our fatherland. I salute you all and wish us all well on this Democracy Day. Surely, Nigeria will rise up again. God bless you all.
Permit me to just stand on existing protocol. I must recognize Dr. Idika Kalu, and my learned friend, senior advocate of Nigeria, Professor Maswell Gidadu. I think the theme of the conference has been well articulated and discussed by Professor Maswell Gidadu, and I think I don't have any superior views to express. The theme is democracy without a democratic constitution, which way forward for Nigeria. I would rather want to modify that theme to say democracy without democratic culture, which way for Nigeria? Because a constitution is part of democratic culture. And I think what we need in Nigeria is a democratic culture. And that will include having a truly people's-led constitution that will be subjected to the referendum of the Nigerian people. The referendum of the Nigerian people is lacking in the making of the present constitution. That is why we say that constitution is a military decree and not one flowing from the consciousness of Nigerians. So the first point I want to make is that we need a democratic culture. And that means we need an autochthonous people's constitution. The constitution that will be driven and led by the Nigerian people, not the one that will be imposed on us, and the outcome will be subjected to a referendum of the Nigerian people. And I say this, that what should be discussed is a democratic culture which will include that constitution, and not just a democratically,
driven what? Constitution. Right now, we are making pretensions that we are practicing democracy. We are not. There's no democracy in Nigeria. And I say that with all sense of responsibility. What do we have in Nigeria presently? I would say, one, it is cash and carry democracy. Cash and what? Carry democracy. Where the dominant element is how much money, how deep your pocket is. That is not a democracy that I envisage for our future generation. Again, in Nigeria today, we have democracy by anointing. Except you are anointed by a godfather or somebody who is influential, you cannot make any meaningful impact in the process. Is that democracy? Again, what we have in Nigeria is democracy, or kill and go democracy. Kill and go democracy. Because the entire polity is highly militarized, driven more by violence. Don't make any mistake. You cannot win any election in Nigeria if you don't have the architecture of violence surrounding you. Is that democracy? Again, what we have in Nigeria is democracy of stomach infrastructure. Where handouts are given to people during elections in return for your votes. And then you don't have access to those who lead you. In a proper democracy, the people are supposed to be the kings, while the leaders are supposed to be the servants. Is that what we have in Nigeria today? We don't have that. So I think, and the only way we can have a genuine democracy is if we change our mindset, a change of attitude. So we need a truly different people's constitution. But beyond that, we need democratic culture. We need democratic, because people will operate that constitution. So it depends on how democratic their mindset is that will determine whether Nigeria is going to progress or not. So we need a new mindset. We need a new democratic attitude to be driven by a democratically elected, a democratically driven what? Constitution. If we are to make, I think we should stand up for just a few seconds to remember late MKO Abiola and pray for him. 1 minute, please. It's very important. And I will say, no, we are going to do that. It's part of my presentation. I'm using just 5 minutes. May the Lord bless the soul of that Democrat, in whose honor we are all gathered here today. And please sit down. And I want to say, yes, they have done something by declaring today Democracy Day. They have also done something by recognizing MKO as the winner of that election. Yes, some gains. And I salute elements like Dr. Kalu, Kalu, who were part of the struggle from the beginning. That's some gains. But that's not where we are going. Until Nigerians are fully independent in terms of taking over the commonwealth of the country, we are not yet there. We are not yet there. And the starting point is to entrench a culture of justice. MKO, Abiola, family have been wronged. We have wronged that man. And his soul is crying for justice. So to assuage his soul, return all his entitlements back to him and compensate the family. And I will end up by saying, name the INEC headquarters MKO Abiola House. Because it's the only symbol of democracy here, and from that point we may progress. God bless you.
My friends, our patriots, I came here from another session honoring MKO, the TIU Foundation. This was in memory of Oranta, Tony Oranta. It's a pleasure to see all of you here. It's amazing. The notes I gave over there, it's as if it just mirrors in some of the things we're emphasizing here. We cannot assume we've gone very far, but we still have something to be thankful for. You know, as you said, we have no right to be talking about celebration. Well, let's celebrate the survival of the entity. But the composition, humility to appreciate where we are and the road that we still have to take. Wherever MKO is now, I'm sure he'll be smiling. You know how he's so smile. We spent a lot of time in Washington together. He was having all those press conferences, some of you may know. So, and I used to sit there, he would ask me whether he's saying the right thing and all that. Anyway, I think I'm so happy that we are keeping it going, but it should be more national and it should be more vibrant, and we should be fighting all those things that detract from what we thought should be our democracy today. That's in our best interest. It's not a matter of partisan politics or partisan ideology. So I don't want to take more time, since our comrade here has told us that we are awaited over there. I look forward to that. Hopefully to make contact with some members of the family for a long time. So that's all I need to say. I'm so pleased that this is a big, we don't have to be thousands, but there are many more out there who are watching, whether we are celebrating, and as he said, to ask what's the content of our celebration, what's the quality of our celebration, how far have we really gone? Until we agree on how our association should work, until we know what the ordinary Nigerians, wherever they are, never mind we are told that we are surrounded by all kinds of foes. Well, if we are together, no foes can take on Nigeria, frankly. And that is what tells us how far we still have to go. So I don't want to talk for too long. I really didn't think I was going to speak again. So let me just say, it's my pleasure that I made it. We rushed from my last engagement to get here. So I'm very thankful. And again, I want to thank all those who've been holding the fort, who've helped to organize this. I know he was asking me whether I was really part of it. I don't blame you, because one gets so preoccupied with so many things. At times, it's not really everybody that realizes that one has been very much a part of this from the very beginning. From the very beginning. From the very beginning. A lot of our friends, all those meetings we used to hold, I don't remember, so many spots. So it's just nice to see everybody. So on your behalf, I think I will ask Wale to take over and guide us through how we get to Chief MKO's place at Prince Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, now advisory. We will leave for those who are driving. You will have to go and talk.
News Hour on Biscon Television. I'm Stella Opara. Thank you for joining us again. Coming up in the news, Tinubu rejects NDLEA amendment bill over a financial violation. Tinubu commissions locally made electric vehicles in Nasarawa. In business news, federal government sells 219 billion naira crude to Dangote refinery in 4 months. On the foreign scene, China hosts Iran, Russia defense ministers amid global tensions, and in sports, Club World Cup 2025. Di Maria, Musiala, others lead goal chart with 3 goals each. Now the news in detail. Deputy Senate President Barrow Jibrin has pledged unwavering loyalty to President Bola Tinubu ahead of the 2027 general election, saying he is ready to accept any role the president assigns him, including that of running mate. Barrow made the declaration during a press briefing in Abuja on Wednesday, in response to growing calls from political groups urging Tinubu to adopt him as his 2027 vice presidential candidate. The Kano-born lawmaker affirmed that his political allegiance is fully aligned with the president, whom he described as a mentor and political father. Barrow also dismissed ongoing speculations as premature, emphasizing the importance of focusing on governance rather than politicking. He praised Tinubu's efforts in stabilizing the nation and urged Nigerians to support the administration's developmental agenda. Barrow further announced that preparations are underway for zonal public hearings on constitutional amendments, with 6 locations across Nigeria set to host discussions on over 59 bills and 31 proposals. He called on Nigerians to participate actively by submitting memoranda and engaging in the reform process. In another story, President Bola Tinubu has withheld assent to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Amendment Bill 2025, which sought to allow the agency retain part of the proceeds from drug-related crimes. The president's decision was conveyed in a letter read during plenary in the House of Representatives on Thursday. Citing Section 54, subsection 4 of the Constitution, Tinubu stated that the bill contradicts current financial regulations requiring all proceeds of crime to be paid into the government's forfeiture account. He emphasized that disbursements to recovery agencies like the NDLEA must follow due process involving presidential, cabinet, and legislative approvals, stressing the need to maintain financial transparency and oversight. Now, President Bola Tinubu has officially commissioned Nigeria's first locally manufactured electric vehicles, tricycles, and motorcycles in Nasarawa State, in a historic move toward green transportation. The ceremony, also attended by Governor Abdullahi Sule, highlights a strong push for innovation and clean energy under Tinubu's sustainable mobility agenda. The initiative aims to ease transportation burdens and reduce reliance on fossil fuels by deploying affordable, lithium-powered electric vehicles with ranges up to 1,200 kilometers. Electric Motor Vehicle Company (EMVC) CEO Prince Mustafa Audu announced plans to install solar-powered charging stations and train EV technicians across the state. Each vehicle comes with a 2-year warranty and drastically lower maintenance needs. With charging costs as low as 5,000 naira, the project promotes a cost-effective shift from combustion engines. Audu urged Nigerians to embrace this eco-friendly transport revolution, tailored for the country's road and climate conditions. You're watching Biscon TV News. Coming up next is business news. Welcome back. Now to business news. The federal government has sold crude oil worth 219.38 billion naira to the Dangote refinery between January and April 2025, according to NNPC records. This comes amid tensions over the Naira for crude policy, which caused a temporary halt in Dangote's product sales in Naira. Despite government efforts to enforce the Naira-based supply deal, The refinery complains of inadequate allocations and has turned to imports. Meanwhile, Nigeria earned 231.47 billion naira from crude exports in the same period, reflecting a dual strategy of boosting local refining and forex inflows. Stakeholders are urging the government to fix domestic crude prices to ease fuel costs for Nigerians. Still to come is foreign news. Bring you details shortly. Welcome back. Now to foreign news. China has hosted defense ministers from Iran and Russia in the eastern city of Qingdao under the umbrella of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO), amid intensifying global tensions and a fragile ceasefire between Iran and Israel. The summit coincided with a NATO meeting in Europe, where Western allies committed to boosting military expenditure in response to global instability. China, emphasizing the SCO's role as a stabilizing bloc, is using the gathering to deepen strategic ties with member nations and to counter Western influence in political, security, and economic spheres. While Russia warned of escalating geopolitical tensions, China reiterated the SCO's importance as a stabilizer in a rapidly changing world. Though China remains diplomatically aligned with Iran, it has avoided deeper involvement in the Middle East conflict, signaling a cautious foreign policy to preserve fragile relations with the United States. Analysts note that although Iran may seek arms support, Beijing is unlikely to commit to military backing. India's defense minister also used the platform to call for greater cooperation within the SCO amid declining globalization. The Qingdao summit highlights China's careful balance between asserting influence and avoiding provocation. You're still watching Biscon TV News. Up next is sports news. Audio Welcome back. Now to sports news. As the 2025 FIFA Club World Cup heats up in the United States, Argentine veteran Angel Di Maria has surged to the top of the scorers chart with 3 goals, tying with Bayern Munich's Jamal Musiala, Crystal Palace's Michael Olise, AAB's Wessam Abu Ali, and Juventus prodigy Kenan Yildiz. The Maria struck once in Benfica's opening 2-2 draw against Boca Juniors and added a stunning brace in their 6-0 rout of Auckland City. Though he was quiet in the 1-0 win over Bayern Munich, his efforts helped Benfica advance to the round of 16, where they now face Chelsea. Other standout performers with 2 goals include Nigeria's Samu Agehoa of Eimba, Leandro Barriero of Mainz, Atletico Madrid's Pablo Barrios, Monterrey's German Betame, and Bayern's Kingsley Coman. With the knockout round set to begin, fans are bracing for more fireworks as the tournament's golden boat race intensifies. We're due for another short break. Bring you entertainment news. Welcome back. Now to entertainment news. Nollywood actress Toyin Abraham has offered an emotional insight into her personal journey from heartbreak to healing, revealing how her first marriage to actor Adeniyi Johnson crumbled despite family warnings. In an interview with media host Ebuka Obi Uchendu, The Screen Queen disclosed that her family had prayed and received signs that the marriage wouldn't work, but she went ahead regardless. The union, she said, lasted barely 2 years after falling apart. Now remarried to actor Kolawole Ajayemi, Toyin says she has found true love and spiritual peace. She described her husband as calm, prayerful, and deeply supportive, qualities that strengthened their bond over time. Their romance began quietly on movie sets, eventually blossoming into a stable relationship. God confirmed he was the one, Toyin shared, affirming her joy in finding a partner who shares her values and commitments to family. And that's the news for now on Biscon Television, compiled and produced by Victoria Hadikoya. Now the last line. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. The past is a place of learning, not a place of living. I'm Stella Opara. Thank you for watching.
Greatest Nigerian people. Greatest Nigerian people. Greatest of the greatest of the greatest Nigerian people. There is victory for us. Victory. There is victory for us in the struggle. In the struggle for Nigeria, there is victory for us. Forward, forward, ever backward, backward, never in the struggle for Nigeria. Well, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, This is another Democracy Day celebration. And so, we are here once again to honor the martyrdom of the hero and heroine of democracy. Greatest Nigerian people. With us here today is the chairman of the National Dialogue, Dr. Kalu Itika Kalu. A round of applause for him, please. With us here today, with us here again is Dr. Prince Adewale Adebayo, the presidential candidate of SDP. A round of applause for him, please. We also have in the house an eminent Nigeria, the first female bishop in Africa, our mother, Bishop Bolande Odelepe. Round of applause for her. That's the first female bishop in the whole of Africa. She's here to honor the martyrdom of Chief. We also have in the house Professor Maxwell Iladu, all the way from Adamawa. A round of applause for Professor Iladu. SAS. Join me in also welcoming the chairman of the local organizing committee, Professor Anthony Kila. A round of applause. Professor of strategy. And he has been strategizing how to immortalize and consolidate our democratic intervention. In the house, we also have with us distinguished scholar, Dr. Wahab Ileshitu, SAN. A round of applause. We also have at this tribute session Mogaji of the Southwest. We also have Chief Mrs. Ifeanyiwa Ezenwa from the Southeast. A round of applause, please. Greatest Nigerian people. We also have Comrade Joseph Eba. I've not seen him. Joseph Eba has also been with us. Comrade Joseph Eba is going to join us very soon. Let me inform you that we have had a very thorough dissection of the state of the nation vis-à-vis the constitutional development of the country. We have had that for 2 hours, and now is the time to come and pay tribute as usual after that ideological intervention. And I'm going to call distinguished and eminent Nigerians here, one after the other. The first person, the chairman is going to speak last. That's Dr. Kadu Idika Kadu. The first person I will call is a cerebral scholar, analyst, and politician now. He's the leader of the Social Democratic Party, once led by, as a matter of fact, was also presidential candidate of SDP. The new presidential candidate of SDP, Prince Adewale Adebayo, will be the first to intervene here and pay tribute. Over to you, Prince Adewale Adebayo.
And all Nigerians, and particularly our host, the family of His Excellency, President Awale Abiola. Today is a gift to God Almighty for Nigeria. It's a renewal of life for the country, an opportunity to find our path, great place to education, inspired by the God Almighty. And today is a sacrifice by Chief MK Abiola because on this day, 32 years ago, that he won the presidential election, the validity, validation, and the approval, he sacrificed his life. So start with, have Abiola as a candidate 2 years ago. It was a sacrifice on his own because he was a person of international representation. He had no reason to come to the side of the people. He didn't hear it. But he did so, he committed to African American. And when he became something like president, people have said, well, I don't know. Nigerian people were not ready. The system was not ready. Let me go and finish my business. But he did not. He did not ask anyone to do anything. I joined the LP. Then I was 10 years old. And that was when I joined the party. When I realized people are actually up and down. At that time, Abiola was just one big man. But true Abiola came out with the prospect of coming to power. Yet Abiola became strong. He was no longer fighting just to occupy 4 years. He was fighting Nigeria that the military must live and democracy. So today, we do everything to honor Abiola, not just peace. But I speak for myself as that young boy to come here and go to Jack Nande's house, and also now as a person who years ago I became a candidate of the party, carrying that same farewell to poverty, which Abiola carried. And the lesson we have learned are 5. 1, June 12th is about Abiola, but it's also not about Abiola. It's about Abiola because no one has paid as much sacrifice voluntarily like Abiola did. But it is not about Abiola because Abiola did not do it for himself. Abiola was who promised power if he would now do well. So it wasn't for power. He was doing it so that the principle of one man, one vote, one woman, one vote, one youth, one vote, one handicap, one vote, will not depart Nigeria. And Abiola said something when he was arrested. He said, you can arrest me, but the voice of the people will be heard and heard and heard again. So I'm happy today that the voice of the people will be heard now. And those who incarcerated Abiola, those who truncated that democracy, their voice is not being heard. Because when they want to speak now, they speak as if they speak for the ones going to say, Abiola was right, the election was right, we were wrong. Now, the question is, what do we do? First, it's not about Abiola. Second, democracy can never be achieved. Because democracy is a destination as it from. But democracy can be approved. And then clearer and nearer to democracy. There's no country in the world that has achieved democracy. As we see Americans now. Democracy is always that destination in front of you. So we should not despair. We should not say, well, 32 years after Abiola, we are still suffering. Poverty has not left. Insecurity has been added. We should not be discouraged. Because Abiola himself, if he has served as our president for 4 years or 8 years, he would have taken us closer to democracy. There is nothing Abiola wanted to do for us that we cannot do now. Thirdly, because we are using some democratic means to achieve our aim, we must be democrats at heart. And one of the attributes of democracy is that you must know how to rise in the face of frustration. Sometimes you are leading the people and people don't understand how you are leading them. Sometimes the bad ideas are the ones that are gaining currency. Democrats must not give up. Election after election, whether it is victory or defeat, the principle for which we fight must not be looked down upon, and Democrats must not give up. Fourthly, Nigeria is diverse. One of the achievements of Abiola was that he was able to transcend all divisions. He was a Muslim who was at home with Islam. He was a Yoruba man who was no stranger in any part of the country. In fact, Abiola was not a stranger in any part of Africa, not a stranger anywhere black people live, not a stranger anywhere in the world. So any person who wants to lead us out of this mess must be at least a pan-Nigerian, but I think to be a pan-Africanist. It should not be a person who is attaining or looking for power to answer some local grievances. Lastly, all of us who are gathered here from Dr. Kanu and all the eminent leaders, democracy is not about personality and leaders. Democracy will go as far as the earlier the people of Nigeria started to own the democracy and we do it for ourselves, so that we join political parties voluntarily and contribute our voters voluntarily. We vote without being urged to go and vote, without being bribed to vote, without censorship. There is nothing that cannot be righted by and we are looking today for a constitution of the people. And that constitution of the people
no fear. No fear, I'm not going to touch your camera.